What's up, party people? Marked by Wrestling here, just kind of off the cuff with you here for a moment. Don't even know if anybody is around here on a Friday afternoon, um, right before SmackDown later this evening, and all the good stuff that is to come with another week of wrestling. So there's news that broke yesterday. And to my knowledge, there isn't any confirmation on the resolution to this report. However, it has been noted and reported by multiple sources, mainly the city of New Orleans, that WrestleMania 42, which was initially set to be emanating from New Orleans April, let's say 11th and 12th of next year, no longer in New Orleans. And now there are many rumors fueling around as to what that means for WrestleMania next year. And there are already rumors supplying about that. So here's the thing is, yeah, that's kind of a shock. I can't remember. I don't think there's ever been any, hey, Sophie, good to see you. I don't think there's ever been a precedent WrestleMania changing cities like this. WrestleMania 7, they changed locations due to low ticket sales, and they said they had death threats too because it was during the Gulf War, from the LA Coliseum to like a Los Angeles arena for smaller house. But nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. It's certainly a different take, and the big rumor circulating right now is that it will go back to Las Vegas again. I got to be honest. I have different feelings about this. One is that I don't particularly care because the way ticket prices are going, I'm not going to WrestleMania anywhere, whether it's in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Miami, Atlanta, Hartford, Connecticut, whatever. So it they have a bigger problem than having it in Vegas again because they're still they are continuing to progress deeper into this business model that is anti-fan. It's anti-fan, anti-regular fan, I'll say. Um, so I don't think I don't think we're headed in a good direction there. With all this, with all this gate breaking records announcements they do at the end of every show. It's not a great thing. And my channel mascot, Lad's not happy about it either. You might be hearing him bark in the background. I'm not a fan of this doing that sort of thing. So, nevertheless, it doesn't really matter to me where they hold it. Now, that being said, I still think it doesn't matter to me in the sense of like I'm not going and I'm not paying for it. But what does bother me is a couple things. One of the greatest things about WrestleMania is touring different cities, is bringing local economies all over the country big increases. And also, I remember I didn't. It's a long story, and I didn't get to go. But I remember when I was living near Atlanta, that final announcement that we were actually getting a WrestleMania was a huge deal. Like we had waited our whole life to have a WrestleMania that close to us, and the fact that it was finally coming to our city, we were so excited. Like I said, it does wonders for each city. I mean, that's why the NBA does an all-star weekend in different cities every year. That's why baseball does, their all-star games in different cities every year. And I mean, the Pro Bowl doesn't even always say. Pro Bowl is kind of a joke compared to the other All-Star games, but nevertheless, it's why they kind of rotate through, and that's a good thing. It's not keeping everything and not keeping a high-profile thing in the same location all the time. College sports do the same thing. They cycle through different cities all the time for their championships, and that is what WrestleMania is. It's a culmination event, right? It is the same thing. That sort of thing, and so. I will say it feels a little, it feels kind of greedy. and a little short-sighted to me if they keep WrestleMania in Las Vegas multiple years. Because they don't have to travel. And if they do keep it in the same place for multiple years, not like WrestleMania 4 and 5, both being in Atlantic City, but like if they have some sort of established home base for it, then that's less travel costs for all the setup and all that. They save money from that. And then as they're charging for tickets and the meet and greets and the appearances and all this sort of stuff, if they're doing that too, then man, it's just more lucrative for them. And I don't love that it's I don't love it. Feels like more than ever every business wants to make a decision that's going to be in the best interest of their business. And I totally get that. But it feels like more and more almost every decision is pro business and not really pro consumer or pro fan. And I'm not under the delusion that excuse me, I'm not under the delusion that WWE is going to be just pro fan in everything they do, even to the own detriment of their own wallets. But giving the fans a little something is really it's a wise move in the long run to not only bring in new fans but maintain your old ones as well. It takes me back to those days, where like you're on a cell phone plan and all the new customers get like this amazing, crazy deal. But if you've been with a company or a provider for, 10 or more years or something like that, they're like, whatever, we've already got you. Who cares? And no discounts, no promotions, no nothing. And I'll say this. I don't know if Vegas is the thing, but I did read one rumor that really troubles me is that if it's, and again, none of these things are verified. WWE themselves have not announced any of this yet. They haven't even announced that WrestleMania is changing yet, although that seems to be what the case is going to be. But the bigger problem I have with if WrestleMania 42 stays in Vegas is I've also heard that it'll push back the date again of WrestleMania to mid to late April. And that was not a good idea this year. That was a bad idea. It bottlenecked all the booking post WrestleMania right into Backlash, right into Saturday night's main event, which is this weekend, right into Money in the Bank, which is next weekend. And like, there's no time for feuds to breathe, no time for stories to really grow and settle. And it's way too much of a bottleneck of PLEs going on. I mean, which gives us a lot of stuff to watch together and everything. That's nice, but for the long-term growth of the product, I don't think that's a good idea at all. I much preferred WrestleMania to be in early April, as it has been for almost 40 years. And but now, like I don't think this is a wise move. But then again, I don't work for them, so what do they care? Now that we've said all that, given my thoughts on Vegas, I do want to entertain a little bit of hope and think, what if there are a couple of other cities that might still be in the mix other than Vegas? So here's just a couple I want to throw out there just for fun. And by the time this live is over and by the time this loads up, it could be moot points all around. However, I'll say this. One, it's been a long time since they've come back to Atlanta. Atlanta is not the same city that it was when WrestleMania 27 was there. It's been over 10, it's been about 15. Yeah, it'll be 15 years since it was there last. And they have Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is a state-of-the-art facility. There's plenty of adjacent activities in the Atlanta area. I think I'll say this too. The city of Atlanta itself is also a major cultural hub of African-American culture and community. And if WWE wanted to fight any of those random allegations about things, I'm telling you, man, some partnerships with the Bianca Belairs of the roster, the Street Profits of the roster, the Obafemis, the Trick Williams of those guys, like I think that would be a really good opportunity to utilize a place like Atlanta with WWE now in 2025, 2026. It's just, I think they certainly didn't tap into that at all in 2011. And I think doing that in 2025, 2026 would be great. Sophie, I see, has mentioned it. There's a couple of things. One, and this is controversial, but Saudi Arabia. I feel like that's going to happen eventually. I feel like it's going to happen eventually. I don't know how soon. I think the Royal Rumble will be a good litmus test for it, and I don't believe they'll actually go there. Good to see you, 850 big boy. I don't believe that'll actually come to fruition this year, but depending on how the Royal Rumble goes, I think we'll see what the potential is for WrestleMania there. Because I think honestly that was the same way with Atlanta. Because I was at the 2010 Royal Rumble. That was Edge's first return, CM Punk's sermon on the mic, so to speak. Shawn Michaels' big crash out leading to that retirement match with Undertaker. And that was a hot crowd. For me personally, that's a top 5 Royal Rumble, but it's an often underrated one at this point because it's been so long. But the crowd was so hot that night. It was a great showing all around. And I think that was a good litmus test for WWE to decide on hosting WrestleMania there. So I think we might actually have a shot with that. Saudi Arabia in time, but not this year because they're already getting the Royal Rumble. And if Saudi Arabia puts on a good showing for the Royal Rumble and the crowd's really into it, they may come back to it. Now, the next one, and I think this would be, at least for internet wrestling fans, could be could be a big argument maker. I think it would be fun. I do think it's overdue, but boy, oh boy, if they went to London and went to Wembley and did a 2-night WrestleMania at Wembley and then outsold All In, that would feed online wrestling arguments for generations. And I know WWE on paper doesn't consider AEW competition, but more often, I mean, plenty of times they have no bones about setting up head-to-head competition. I'll say this: they don't avoid it. I don't know that they seek it out, but if something is in their business best interest that looks like it may come into conflict with AEW, they don't care. They will do it anyways. They will do that stuff anyways. So, I kind of think it would be funny if WWE was petty enough to try to run Wembley for 2 nights, and how they could perform there. Also, I'm not anti-international WrestleMania at all. I know it messes around with the time of day that it airs in America, but man, these crowds, I love those crowds, and I would be very curious. I don't know that they have an arena to support the size of it, but honestly, if I could choose any international location based on crowd alone, it'd be France, because of just how invested they are emotionally in the show, without being snarky, loud. There's a difference between putting yourself over as the crowd and just being overjoyed to see the show in front of you. And I really feel like France is the latter and not the former. But I don't know that they have a location big enough to really support the infrastructure of something like a WrestleMania. And also, when you're talking about WrestleMania and the scope and the size of it, you do have to think about how you travel with all that. And how you set all that up. And the logistics of that is probably pretty expensive. And it seems like with WWE reducing house shows, investing more into the performance center, possibly moving WrestleMania back to Vegas, it seems like they're taking cost-cutting measures, not because they're in trouble, but because they're just trying to increase their revenues with all the higher price tickets and add-on experiences and all this other stuff. So that's a little disheartening to me as a fan. I miss it when I miss it when the fan experience was more accessible other than just watching on TV. I really do. Part of that's just the economy in general, but part of that is WWE being kind of greedy, and I wish they weren't that way. So it makes me a little sad as a fan. I'll still watch on TV, and if I can afford some retro items, to keep the set fresh, maybe I'll do that. But I don't know, man. I don't know that I'm going to a WWE show anytime soon. So that bums me out. Also, it is a little weird that everything The Rock has shown up and bragged about has kind of not come to fruition. No match with Roman, no follow up with Cody and his soul, no WrestleMania in New Orleans. I mean, when I first saw it posted, and the post that someone made, they used the picture of The Rock announcing the New Orleans WrestleMania. I'm like, just for a split second, my mind was like, man, Triple H really trying to stick it to The Rock. Sophie, I see you saying that if Vince was still in charge, this wouldn't be happening with Mania. I mean, I think there's a lot of things. I think the bad of Vince being in charge would far outweigh the good. I don't think the on-air product we'd be seeing would be any good. So coming up to that. 850 Big Boy. Yes, there have been cities that haven't hosted a WrestleMania yet. I know Minneapolis was one that was being discussed a year or two ago because I think they've got a new stadium for the Vikings or something like that. So Minneapolis is there in the mix. They did that SummerSlam coming out of COVID. They did that in Nashville. They've never done a WrestleMania in Nashville either. And let's see, I'm trying to think of any other bigger cities. I mean, most of the major cities have had one, maybe two WrestleManias. But anyway, so yeah, because they've done Miami, Orlando, and Tampa, and Florida. They've done Chicago. They've done Boston. They've done Philly. They've done Atlanta. They've done LA. They've done Santa Clara, which is close to San Francisco. Done Vegas twice now. Done Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Seattle. I mean, the New York, obviously, Madison Square Garden multiple times. So there's been many WrestleManias. So yeah, I think about that. Ohio, yeah, I mean, Ohio doesn't have one, but also like Ohio, while that's a populated state, doesn't have like a major national city that's like a tourist destination. And that's the thing too, is that like there's just a touch of tourist destination involved in cities as well that host WrestleMania, but nevertheless. All right. Well, guys, I do have to cut this short. I just want to come on and give my thoughts. I'll still watch, wherever they host WrestleMania. I want to see more cities and more fandoms, around the country, and even a few spots around the world get that love, though. Hosting it in Vegas, I don't love. I don't mind them having a routine show in Vegas every year. Like, honestly, Money in the Bank is probably not a bad idea to always, if you're going to have a show that's always hosted in Vegas. WCW did that for a little while with the MGM Grand Arena, and they tried to make that a thing, I think, with Halloween Havoc. And it didn't always work out. I think Money in the Bank is probably the show to do that because it's a higher show than your Bad Bloods or your Day One or Stomping, whatever random stuff, a Saturday night's main event, but it's not a big four. The Money in the Bank is probably the biggest show of the year they do that's not a big four, that won't be a 2-day event. And honestly, I would suggest put Money in the Bank in Vegas, and also you got the money, theme there. You could do that for years. Do a residency for Money in the Bank in Vegas. Keep WrestleMania the traveling circus show that it is, because the fans love that. Make a pro fan decision. Make a pro fan decision. Even people I follow online have even been saying that 5 days in Vegas is 2 or 3 days too long for the entire thing that they do, so make it a weekend experience. Vegas is a weekend experience place. So no, they don't count Money in the Bank as part of the Big Five. There's no such thing as a Big Five. They always only had the Big Four: Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Those are their tentpole events. And Money in the Bank is a big event. It's an important event, but it's not one of their mainstays, not the way those other four are. Which is why I think if you're gonna, that's a compromise. You make it in Vegas. You do that, and then maybe you can have a happy compromise there. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys. I'll try to see you guys in the SmackDown chat tonight for A&B Combos Wrestling Edition, and I'll absolutely see you on Tuesday for NXT. You guys take care, and thanks for listening to me rant. Later.